When I was last here, little did we know that California would be engulfed by the largest firestorm in its history. It turned the night sky into an eerie, disturbing orange and the day sky black. It drove hundreds of thousands of our citizens from their homes. In response, the Army of the Inferno, 140 aircraft, 1,600 fire engines, 15,000 firefighters mobilized to battle the flames. Now it sounds like a scene from a movie, but it was real, and people died. People lost their homes, and people's lives changed.
The people you see in this video are members of our California Community College family. But this time it wasn't a drill, but rather an unexpected disaster. The fires and the Santa Ana winds impacted many of our colleges, causing millions of dollars in damages. For days, the fires and the winds raged, just absolutely wreaking havoc and threatening homes, businesses, wildlife, pets, forests, and of course, our colleges. Everything was at risk. One person said to me, "You know, Diane, this time we dodged a bullet, but if the winds hadn't changed, our college would have been lost." What you're about to see on this video is a brief report on how our colleges were impacted. This short but intense piece will give you a sense of what California community colleges experienced, how they dealt with the emergency, what they did, what they learned. We asked everybody about the lessons they learned, and without exception, they replied, "Being prepared and providing ongoing training are essential if we're to cope with a real disaster." And you know, this message isn't new, but it certainly has been keenly underscored by these recent fires.
The fires impacted our college extensively, in good and challenging ways. Challenging because we had to evacuate our college. We have our record enrollment after 30 years, 8,500 students, and we had to evacuate the college efficiently and effectively and peacefully while the fires were literally on our hillsides.
We had 13 members of our community lose their homes, and many others are affected in some way.
I think the most dramatic thing was the unknown of whether the college, my house, and whether we were even going to survive after these fires were over.
As we began to activate and have our employees, our emergency teams on standby, many of them were not able to be there because they were dealing with the fires or being evacuated from their own homes.
I can remember one person coming up to me and saying, "Somebody pounded on my door in the middle of the night. I had 15 minutes to get every possession and get dressed and get out of my house before the fire struck."
The fires affected both Grossmont and Cuyamaca colleges, I think in a profound way. It affected our students, our faculty, and our staff. I believe that there were 3 homes that were lost by people, by employees.
We were at the whim of Mother Nature. If the Santa Anas had not died down, we may not be here today. And when you look around and you see the flames and you see the smoke, you know, and you just don't know.
I lost my home in the fire recently on October 22nd. My husband and I did. Okay. Palomar College was one of the first responders. They've always been there for us. They've made us feel like a team and have been very supportive in everything.
The impact of the wildfires here was significant. About 50 people went to the foundation for help, but I know that about 37 somehow significantly lost either everything or a majority of the things that they had.
Well, the wildfires here in San Diego County impacted the whole county, especially our 2 colleges here in the East County of San Diego, both Cuyamaca College and Grossmont College.
The fires impacted the students and faculty and what we saw in the health center. In fact, one of my staff members' home was actually surrounded by fire, and she had to go home and leave work to take care of that.
In Southern California, the ultimate count of the fires were 13. They began early on a Sunday morning in the Malibu area, and by that Sunday evening, San Diego had multiple fires that started in that area, and Orange County as well had started with their South County fires.
When we knew we lost our home, I felt it was heartbreaking. I left my grandmother's china, my mother's wedding dress, my children's baby book behind. So that is something that you cannot go to a store and buy. This is where you let your memories live with you, and you take them with you.
But this is the most devastation that we've seen. First time that we've ever had winds to this degree. The neighbors next to us had sand in their driveway over 6 feet high, and you couldn't drive down the street that connects us to the neighbors. The wind and sand had blown up so high.
The community surrounding us also experienced a lot of damage. Houses were destroyed or damaged by trees falling on them. Power lines were down, and there was no way to get back into the campus. So I had to actually call my chief of police to come and escort me into the campus. It was devastating. Our entire topography had changed. The entire campus was gray with sand. There were sand dunes. Our rose garden had blown away. The buildings were blown over. The damage was extensive. Power was gone. We had no power. And immediately, obviously we had to activate our disaster response. We had to set up a mobile command post because we couldn't get into the buildings.
They had to be at least over 100 miles an hour. We had one tower on top of a building that was rated at 170 miles an hour, and it blew that tower over.
The wildfires themselves, we closed our Menifee campus basically just due to unhealthy air quality.
People were surprised to know that anything actually happened here because the wildfires were in San Diego County and Orange County and LA County, but Riverside County, we got the wind.
We lost young trees, old trees, you name it.
We lost the roofs off of 6 buildings, major roof damages. We had minor roof damages to about 4 or 5 other buildings. We lost ventilation units were blown completely off their supports on those same 6 buildings. We had a football field scoreboard that was a big square scoreboard. It's now a twisted piece of metal laying on the ground.
Sand and dust just infiltrated all the buildings to the point where you could write your name on any desk. The computer boards, the keyboards were covered.
The total impact in terms of dollars to the district, $3.2 to $3.5 million. Our cleanup was going to require us to not only clean the entire campus, but we had to also redo our infrastructure. We literally had to shut everything down and go in, and the cleaning crews, we had about 300 people on campus for a week. 2 different crews to do cleaning and another just to do technology cleaning. And then we had tree removal, we had electrical, and so everything had to be done. About $3.2 million is what we're looking at right now. We've been told that probably more than half of this will not be covered by insurance. So it's come right out of our pocket. We were just hit with a hammer.
As a president, and as a relatively new president to this campus, I hadn't experienced anything like a wildfire. And so it's important that colleges prepare for, have plans for, and practice all kinds of emergency situations so that each time you actually have to live it, you have a pattern of expertise that you can rely on. You have patterns of behavior and people that are respond in appropriate ways to whatever the emergency situation may be.
About 6 months ago, Palomar College participated with the sheriff and the city of San Marcos and our local fire protection district on exactly this scenario. The modeling that was done by the fire department shows that fire in Santa Ana would sweep right through Palomar College all the way to the coast. So we had a good idea of what we could expect.
Cuyamaca College was very fortunate to have undergone a district coordinated training very soon before these fires. And I think it would have been incomprehensibly more difficult to have gone through an actual emergency had we not gone through some sort of a simulated training, and having gone through that training, I think benefited everyone.